Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Never to Do Mistakes for Network Engineers. Today we will be talking about another mistake, which is about not saving the configurations. So what happens when you do not save the configuration? You just make the changes and you do not save the configuration. So with the help of a practical scenario, I will be explaining you that what can go wrong if you do not save the configuration, right? As a network engineer, you might already know that if you do not save the configuration, that means whatever the changes you are doing might be lost. So if you're doing any changes and you're not saving it, and due to any reason, whether it's a power failure or a device failure, and the device restarts or reboots, all your configuration changes are gone. So, say for example, you have been facing a problem. There was some error that was coming up to you in your network, and your network was facing intermittent outages or connectivity issues, and then you applied a fix to that, right? You made a change, you applied a fix to that, but you did not save the configuration. And if you did not, in that case, that can cause problems if your device restarts or reboots. So let's understand this thing with the help of an example. Okay. So here on my screen, you can see I have two routers, R1 and R2. So I'll create a issue here that I'm going to go and configure here the same IP address. That means duplicate IP address issues we are going to create here. And due to the duplicate IP address issues, sometimes the responses might not come up. App cache issues will be there. Okay. And then packet failures will be there. So we will apply a fix to that, and then I'll show you that I will not be saving the configuration. If I'll not save the configuration, what will happen? The configuration or the patch or fix I'm going to apply, that which is basically I'm going to change the IP address, right? I'm going to make a unique IP address between those two devices. And if my device restarts, again the IPs will switch back to the same IP and they will start facing issues, right? So let's see about that. Here I have the R1 and R2, and you can see here I have the console of R1 as well as R2. So now let me go here and I'm going to configure the same IP address between those devices. First, initially I don't have any IP address. Do show IP interface brief. And let's consider that in this environment, one of the admin has configured same IPs. Okay, due to any reason they have configured same IPs. Maybe it was their negligence or so. Because in the last video also I mentioned, right, that due to human negligence there can be a lot of issues, because the routers, the devices, they will not say that okay, this command is already present. Now here I'm going to go to the interface gig 0/0, and I'm going to assign an IP address 10.1.1.1 and 255.255.255.0. I'm giving here this IP address and I'm bringing up the interface. Then this side we have R2, and I'll do the same thing here on the R2 as well. Right now, if I say show IP interface brief, I do not have an IP address, but the engineer might be a new, right? So what he has done is he has configured again by mistake the same IP address. So he says IP address 10.1.1.1, 255.255.255.0, and then we say no shutdown. Now what will happen? That there will be connectivity issues, because this guy is going to just check the connectivity and he will find the connectivity. But again, the duplicate IP address issues are going to be there, right? If I try also from here do ping, although the traffic never leaves my own device, okay, this is pinging with my own device, but this is kind of a simulated scenario here, that any configuration or any issue you might be facing, okay, might be the interface configuration is wrong, the interface is down, or any xyz reason your VPN configuration is not correct, you applied a fix to that. So any sort of issue you are facing, and then you apply a fix. So here right now what happens, that an engineer goes here, okay, and what the engineer does, he changes the IP address, correct? So he'll go to the interface gig 0/0, and this guy is going to go and change the IP address here, because the issue was there, right? So he applied a fix. So the fix was applied. Okay, before that, let's save the configuration, because initial configuration the user did, he would save the configuration. So this configuration is already there, right? Now, since this configuration is already there, so what the user will do to apply a fix, he is going to change the IP address. So interface gig0/0, and this is the fix we have applied for our for the issue we were facing. Okay, and then no shutdown. Now the IP address is unique. Everything works fine. Okay, the engineer is negligent enough to not save the configuration, and he tested the connectivity that okay, am I able to ping 10.2.2.2? So the engineer sees that okay, from here onwards we should be having a connectivity. I believe the interfaces are okay. R1, R2, gig0/0. Do show. Here also interface is up, protocol is up. Let's try to ping once again. So the user will say do ping 10.1.1.2. So when you check the connectivity, you have the connectivity, and that means the issue was resolved here. Now the issue is successfully resolved, but the user did not save the configuration. And since the user did not save the configuration, what the user go and do is, and like the user has not saved the configuration, and if the router restarts due to any electrical, mechanical failure, device failure, XYZ reason, right? If the device restarts, so here I'm going to do a manual reload to simulate it. Do reload, and I'm not going to save the configuration. And if a reload happens, again the issue is back. Okay, once the router restarts again, the issue will be back. And since the issue will be back, maybe it was the off hours of the company, but the entire network was down. The network admin was not available there. So during all that time, your device outage will be there, intermittent disconnectivity will be there, traffic loss will be there, which is something we cannot afford to have in our networks, right? So if you want to save the configuration, you can use the write command. Okay, the write command you can use, or write memory command you can use. Okay, so let me show you a few other commands also that you can use to save the configuration. And you can see here on the R1 again, I'm getting the duplicate IP address log. Why? Because again the previous configuration came back, the issue was again, okay, the issue was back again. Now nobody knows what to do. Then again you'll have to just wait for the network engineer to arrive and fix everything again. So this kind of negligence should not happen, and you should always save your configurations. You can save your configurations, in the locally in the router. You can take backup on the TFTP servers, right? So those all kind of things can be done. So let's go here, and here what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to interface again. Okay, I checked. Do show IP interface brief. I see that okay, the IP address is same on all the devices. I'm getting a duplicate address log. And now what I'm doing here is changing it, right? So interface gig0/0, and then we say IP address, and let's give it a unique IP 255.255.255.0. Now it's time to save the configuration, right? To save the configuration, what you'll be doing. So there are a few of the commands that you can use. You can use the write command. Okay, so this will save the configuration in your NVRAM. Okay, so it saves your contents of RAM into NVRAM. Another one you can use write memory command. This will also do the same thing. Now, what else we can do? You can also say copy your running config to the startup config. So again, this is similar to what your write command does. It copies all your contents of the running config to the startup config, because initially when you're making all the changes are present inside RAM only. Okay, and the RAM is volatile in nature. That means if the power loss is there, RAM contents will be wiped out. So you won't have access to your configurations anymore. Okay, so you can use copy running config to the startup config. And what happens when your device restart? It always checks the configuration from the startup config. And for a safer side, if device failure is there or so, right? For a safer side, what you can do, you can just go and take a backup on the TFTP server also. Okay, so you can say copy your startup or running config, whatever the config you want to backup, and then you can say TFTP. You can use this command and you can back it up on the TFTP server. Okay, so it will ask you for credential, like it will ask you for the address and name of your remote host, which is the TFTP server IP address. Okay, and say for example, I'll give it 10.1.1.1 only as of now. Okay, it's not my TFTP server, but I'm giving it here just for the reference to show you that what are the things that is going to ask. Then destination file name, with what name you want to save it. So say I want to save it as a R1, or sorry, R2 it is. So R2 startup config. This is the name I have given here. And you can also mention the date when you're taking the backup. So say, for example, 14th November or just 14/11, 2025. Okay, so with this name, I can do it. Now this particular R2 is going to try to connect to my TFTP server and is going to try to upload this startup config, right? So that's how we can do it once this is done. Okay, once you are done with the upload, next what we can do is we can go for restore also. Let me show you how to restore. So it will try to connect, although 10.1.1.1 is not a TFTP server, so it's going to fail here in this case. In case you want to restore, so you will do the reverse command, copy from TFTP, and where you want to copy again, so your startup config. And then again the name of remote host, so again you will say 10.1.1.1. Okay, and then source file name, that means which file you want to copy from the TFTP server. So you're going to copy the file name and you're going to paste it here. And once you give the file name, what will be the destination file name? So you want to save it in the running config, startup config, that file name you will give here. Right now I want it in the startup config only. So I'll hit enter and it will try to access and get the file from there. Okay, so that's how what you can do is you can save your configurations and you can keep a backup of your configuration, because it's really important. The role you're working at, you need to understand the criticality of your role, and entire enterprise is depending on you. So a slight mistake you make can cause use financial losses and reputational losses to your business. So I believe this video was informative to you. You got to learn and understand that how important it is to save all your configurations. If you find this video helpful, do like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in another video. Bye bye.